All right, so I want to make this video uh, from one of the content creators that I watch, Mark the Messenger. Shout out to him, I guess. He makes good content, good Christian content, but I like that he, talks about a lot of topics that not a lot of people go over. And this video, encouraged me to make it with an experience that I had. But one of the videos that he had made, it was about gang stalking. And gang stalking, if you don't know what that is, it's like a term for, physically and spiritually. And like physically, I mean, it's like being stalked, like someone's watching you, someone's trying to attack you. But spiritually, it's kind of like when you're a devout Christian, like living for God, being saved, the way that you live, the enemy is going to persecute you. And that's regardless. Like you're not going to escape that. Like you're going to be persecuted for living for God. And even for God, God's going to test you with that to see if you were really about it. But anyways, this is something that I experienced, kind of a personal story, but like gang stalking with like spiritually, it's kind of just like you're being persecuted and you're being attacked, and it's not just once, like it's not just once a week. Like the fact of being gang stalked or like just an enemy attacking you, like spiritual warfare, it's back to back, it's constant. And this happened about 7 months ago. Yeah, about 7 months ago. I was in my apartment, and normally there's nothing crazy happening at my apartments. My apartments are like kind of the nice apartments, and the way my apartment is set up is my covered parking spot is right in front of my apartment, and it was kind of like I got like the good apartment, so it's kind of just like convenient rather than someone parking far away and having to go all the way upstairs or having to go walk 10-15 feet to their door. Mine's just straight right there. And pretty much what happened is this happened about 7 months ago, like I said. And about a week prior to what I'm about to tell the story, I had been being persecuted for having to go out. I was being persecuted by this person for having to go out with that person and like having to go party, pretty much, like kind of opening the door to my old kind of self. But that's pretty much what I was being persecuted for, and that goes around and comes around. Like I'm used to that, but the fact that it was happening so much, and it made me bothered. It started making me think more about it, and I just started to realize like this is not normal. Like something is happening more than what it was originally happening for. And so I was thinking like, that's kind of odd, but I'm going to keep fighting it out. Well, Saturday night that week on the oncoming week, that Saturday night, ironic enough, I was tired, and I had come home at like 9:30, and I laid in bed for about an hour and I was just chilling. And when I was about to get up and shower, I got up from bed and I was like, something's telling me to look outside. So like I go and I look outside my window and there's nobody there. And I was like, okay. I was like, that's weird, but I normally don't, like, nobody's really out and about in my apartment. So like, okay, that's weird. So anyways, I go back and I start showering, and I get out of the shower, and like I get in bed and I'm getting ready for bed. Well, it's about like 11 o'clock, and I felt like someone was outside. Like I heard like a noise outside, and like I got up, I looked out the window again, and nothing was out there, nobody was out there. And so I'm like, all right, that's weird. So I get back in bed, and I go to bed, and so I go to sleep, and I wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning, and like I just wake up, like, and I'm like, okay, like I woke up by a noise or something, and I was like, something told me to like look outside. So I get up and I go and look outside my window, and I'm just looking, and nobody's there, nothing's there. And I'm like, all right, you know what? This is obnoxious. I'm like, I'm not gonna look outside the window no more. Like I'm going to bed. I'm not gonna wake up. I'm going straight to bed. Like I got church tomorrow. Like I gotta go bring donuts to church tomorrow. Like, so I get back in bed, and right when I get in bed, I start get this feeling, and it's this unsettling feeling, and it's like my thoughts are like something bad's gonna happen. And like I'm just like I'm kind of freaking out because like I pray before I go to bed. Like I'm in a good place, and the place I sleep at is not bad. Like I don't have no doors open, nothing, and like I'm all good to go. Like I prayed, and so I'm like, all right, you know what? Like I'm going to bed. Well, sure enough, I wait. Okay, so this is where it gets crazy. So sure enough, I'm asleep, and I just hear, like I hear like my living room glass busted, and so I wake up as soon as I hear the noise, and my eyes just like are open, and like I don't know what's going on, but my first thought is like, am I dreaming? And so like I'm like I open my eyes, and I'm just laying there looking up, and I'm waiting to hear someone like tussle glass or like step through or footsteps. And I sleep like I got a gun, like I sleep next to my gun. And so I grab my first thing, like I waited 10 seconds in bed to hear anything, and I didn't hear anything. So I got up real quick, and I put on a shirt, and I grabbed my gun, and I look into the doorway into my living room, and nobody was in there. Nothing. And so I'm like, there's no way. Like, am I dreaming? And I was like, there's no way that I'm dreaming. Like, so I go back into this window, and I'm looking outside, and I'm not even joking. There's a guy he's leaning on my truck. He's leaning on my truck, literally, and he's like looking down, like he's like just like looking down, and I'm like, what? I'm like, bro, like when I had seen him lean on my truck, I'm like, not like that. That's the one thing that set me off. Like, that is the one thing that set me off. Like, you can do, there's a lot of stuff that don't make me mad. And honestly, like, this is kind of dumb, but like, if you, like, I take care of my vehicles, and the fact that this man was leaning on my truck, like, I was wondering what time it was, and I looked at my phone. It was 4:30 in the morning. This man was leaning on my truck at 4:30 in the morning after he had busted my window. And so I'm like, nah, like, bro, I got my gun, and I go in my living room, and I open the living room window, and I'm looking at him, and like this guy is still leaning over my truck, just chilling there. And I look at the window that I'm looking out of, and he had busted a hole, huge, big old hole, like the whole bottom panel was busted out. And at this point, I'm like, I'm infuriated. Like, I got my gun, and I'm about to go outside. And so I'm like, I'm about to go outside and like tell him what's up. Like, you got a problem or something. And I remember I wanted to call my brother. And so I called my brother to tell him what's happening, so he could pull up, or so he could know if something had happened, he would know is to call me, or to get contact, or to show up or something. But anyways, like I was about to call him, and some dude had ran down the stairs. He ran down the stairs in front of my apartment. I'm still looking outside, and this guy is looking at him. He's like, what'd you do? He's like, bro, we gotta go. He's like, what are you doing? And he grabbed that dude in front of my truck, and they both ran off. And so whenever I saw them do that, I called my brother answered. I was like, bro, someone just busted my apartment. Like, they're chilling like in front of my truck. And I was like, bro, I got my gun. Should I go chase them? They just ran around over here. And he was like, bro, don't do nothing stupid, bro. Go call the cops. And like, as soon as I heard him say that, I'm like, all right, bro. And so like I hung up, and I called the cops. And like I call the cops show up, and they found the guys, and they arrested both of them. They charged them everything, and they fixed my apartment window. But what's crazy is like I experienced that, like the fact that I woke up multiple of those times, and the fact that happened, and the fact that happened to me. Like, I had asked the cop when the last time they had someone out at these apartments, and the cop told me that they had someone for domestic violence, something like this, since like 2017. So you're gonna tell me that something had orchestrated, divine, whatever, something just so happened to me in front of my apartment, to my apartment, and it was because everything that I had experienced, everything I woke up, look out the window, my bad feelings, everything that never happened on a normal basis. I don't look out the window every night before I go to bed 3 times. Like, you can't tell me that that's not, like, that was a straight up attack. The fact that none of my stuff was damaged, like, that's, praise God. But it's crazy to talk about, like, this is what gang stalking feels like. Like, that's what gang stalking feels like. And to even describe, like, I don't even know how to describe what it is like being woken up to a busted window. Like, I can't share the fact that I woke up, bloodshot eyes, to hear my window busted in. Like, that is something that's honestly one of the things that I never thought I would experience. But, and it's pretty scary. Like, but I hadn't experienced something like that since I was like 16, and someone had jumped in my backyard at my dad's house, and my dad was telling me, he's like, don't do nothing, like, just, we're gonna call the cops. And I get my gun, or get his gun, and, like, it's crazy. But that's something that I thought was interesting over a video that Mark made, and I just want to share that. But to wrap this video up, thanks for watching.